Hello. So today I want to talk to you about genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, as it's commonly known. So first of all, understand that really every living thing is made of genes, and these genes are made of DNA, and this is really kind of the instructions that control how cells grow and develop. So genes are responsible for how plants, what their characteristics are, what their nutritional value is, and really how they survive in different harsh environments. Now, GMOs, I'm talking mostly today in context of plants, but there are also animals that are being investigated, being modified to add certain characteristics to it. So really, when I'm talking about GMOs or genetically modified organisms, it's really that their DNA has been changed kind of using genetic engineering technology, trying to produce something that is added value. So what's the purpose? Like I said, it may want to be to increase the nutritional boost. It may want to increase its resistance to different pests, or it just may be simply to improve the growth of the plant. So one area is really higher nutritional value. So some GMOs are made to contain really extra nutrients like vitamins and minerals, really the things your body needs. So an example of this is something called golden rice, really rich in beta carotene. This is really an antioxidant that boosts, it really is helpful for your eyes and skin health. There's also a soybean that's been GMO modified or genetically modified, whose fats have really been made to be more like olive oil or more heart healthy type of oil. And scientists are currently doing experiments to improve meat by boosting its omega-3 fatty acid content. And these fatty acids, they really help prevent heart disease, strokes, cancer, really, and other health issues. And they can really help improve the management of rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and eczema. And the thing is your body can't make these healthy fats, so you have to get them through food. So another reason that they do this modification is really for higher food production. So really, as the world's population increases, it's getting more and more difficult to really kind of feed everyone. And it's basically estimated that parts of the world by 2050 really are going to have to double their production of food to maintain this or to feed the population. And really, it's with GMOs that we're adding more nutritious foods that are being developed and really being grown really in areas with really limited resources like land and water. Another reason for GMOs is really better farming practices. So this modification has really improved farming practices a great deal. So for instances, it has resulted in the soybeans that can be resistant to herbicides, virus-free Popeyes, corn that survives droughts, and crops that really yield more with less cost. And so this really can help the farmers grow more crops with really less harmful herbicides. So really what we're talking about here is kind of nature on fast forward. So gene modification is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, really in nature, it's really kind of happened naturally. So animals do this too. So over periods of hundreds of years, kind of the favorable traits in plants and animals, kind of those things that make it thrive better, really are passed on to the next generation. So these traits, they get passed on to that next generation, and they eventually become very common. So our ancestors did this by basically kind of selecting the best plant seeds to grow in the next planting season. And this is why, if you look at corn particularly, the corn of today is significantly different than the corn of many hundreds of years ago. And that's really been a lot through kind of this selective selection of the better quality food, and then using that seed to plant for the next generation. We see this in animals. It's the same as when people pick the top kind of in a litter, they pick the better breed and then use that breed to reproduce and make new babies. So this is really selective breeding, really is kind of nature's way of giving plants and animals that desirable trait. Now, like I said, this has been used for centuries. However, kind of the natural process really just takes a long time, usually generations. And really, it's also difficult for breeders to determine what genetic change is created with the new trait. So fortunately, genetic modification helps accelerate this process by using really scientific method to give the plants kind of the desired qualities. So scientists can bypass many generations of change or improvement today through really genetic engineering. And this modification is often done really to elicit a desired feature in that organism. There's different ways they can do this, but really they're identifying and isolating certain characteristics in the DNA that they want to be passed on in the plant or the animal. So genetic modification can be applied to microorganisms. So there's some bacteria that have been genetically modified to produce kind of beneficial substances that help prevent or manage or even cure diseases. This is a typical example of this is insulin, which is used to manage diabetes mellitus or type 1 diabetes. Another example of beneficial genetic modification is something called the Bt corn. Bt corn has been modified to produce what's called Bt toxin, and this is really a harmless insecticide that helps the corn resist pests. And this ultimately reduces the need for pesticides in growing the plant. This results in less harmful pesticides in the harvested product. So GMO crops are ubiquitous. In fact, up to 80% of the food in the market really is estimated to contain some form of genetically modified plant. And at least 90% of soy and corn in the market is also grown through kind of genetic modification techniques. So the real question is are GMOs safe to eat? So through GMO plants make farming easier. There are concerns of how safe these are for human consumption, especially in terms of allergies and other diseases and potential effects that might have on the environment. So gene alteration does not automatically make something toxic. Take the ruby red grape, for instance. It came into existence through natural mutation, but there's no concern about the random genetic changes that led to the development of this. So also the FDA, or the Food and Drug Administration, and also the Environmental Protection Agency all have confirmed that really you can consume GMOs without worrying about its safety. There's several research studies that show that GMOs are safe for your consumption. Some of the major concerns include allergies. So you may have a concern that GMOs foods may trigger an allergic reaction, mainly because these foods contain foreign genes from other foods that may potentially trigger a response. But you don't have to totally avoid GMOs for this reason, because there have not been any allergy reports about GMO foods that are currently available in the market. The FDA also ensures that GMO research and developers run multiple tests to ensure these allergens are not transferred from one food to another. And in addition to this, research has shown that GMOs do not pass or do not pose a higher risk of allergies than non-GMO foods. So if you're allergic to soy, both GMO or non-GMO, you're still going to have a trigger to that food product. So GMO doesn't increase your allergies, but it does not make you not allergic to something if you already are. Another area of concern is cancer. So often GMOs are concerned about cancer, as it may hasten its cancer progression. And this is because, it's known that cancer really results from DNA mutation. So there's fear that consuming GMO foods may actually have a modified DNA, which may affect your DNA. And currently there is no evidence to link GMO consumption to cancer development or the progression of cancer. The American Cancer Society does state that consuming GMOs will not affect your cancer risk. Environmental and other health concerns. Now, there's no doubt that GMOs are more convenient for farmers to cultivate because the crops are resistant to herbicides, which really makes it easier for farmers to use herbicides on weeds without worrying about damaging the crops. So unfortunately, many weeds have also developed resistance to herbicides, which then results in more herbicides being sprayed on the crops to really kill the resistant weeds. And after all, the herbicides won't harm the GMO crops. However, some herbicides have been linked to various diseases in humans, so they may not be safe to consume beyond certain levels. And furthermore, excessive use of these herbicides may result in crops containing these herbicides getting to market. So this may be something that is harmful to individuals and the environment. So it's not the GMO product, but it's kind of the consequences of the GMO product. Now, there has been considerable research that's shown herbicides present in GMO foods are safe for consumption in small amounts. But again, it's one of those areas that is unknown or still needs to have active investigation. Well, so what is the role of the FDA in GMO safety? Well, the FDA is responsible to ensure that all foods, whether genetically modified or not, are safe for your consumption. One approach is through the FDA's Plant Biotechnology Consulting Program that raises safety concerns during genetic engineering process to help GMO developers identify any critical safety tests that they need to do. So really the FDA is helping trying to make sure that these plants are safe, and then also how to test for the plants, or developing tests to still ensure that safety. So kind of during the safety evaluation, the FDA reviews the information provided by the developers to really understand how the engineered product is different from the original. So some key areas that are checked into include the nutritional value and the allergy potential. So for example, the FDA prevented the Brazil nut enriched soybean from being introduced into the market because of its potential trigger of allergies to people with Brazil nut allergies. So this soybean has been or was prohibited really in animal feed too. The FDA has also guided guidelines containing high standards for genetically engineered animal products that really is there to ensure our safety. In addition, there's environmental policies that require the FDA to consider the potential effects of the GMO animals on the environment before these animals are made available to your consumption. So it's not just the animal itself, but what is the impact potentially to the environment of this GMO modified animal. So really kind of the key takeaways, it really is that there's the findings really from various research and tests show that GMOs are safe for your consumption. Plus, GMOs and non-GMO foods are generally not approved for your consumption until it's been reviewed by the FDA and considered safe. The developers also conduct various testing to ensure that any GMO food product is safe. But again, there is no ruling out the need for further safety research, because obviously there could be health and environmental consequences that really no one has thought to look at yet. So while there's no evidence currently showing GMOs being unsafe, it's something that needs to be continued to watch in further development. There's lots of beneficial things from GMOs, but it's also important that we stay abreast to any potential risk or consequences related to this. So this is something that, as you're out shopping for your nutritional needs, it's something you're going to want to consider in your own health and wellness journey. So I hope you find this helpful today. And again, like I said in the past, if there's anything you'd like us to talk about, any subjects that you'd like to learn more, don't be afraid to let us know. We'll try to help meet your needs. So again, thank you.